So before my students arrive, what I like to do is I like to go in and check out their data. So I'm going to go to the Khan Academy's website, into my account, and I'm going to go to the coaching section. And the first grid that comes up is the progress report. And at this glance, I can see all of the modules, I can see all of my students, and anything in green means those students are proficient. Anything in red, they're struggling. Blue, they're working on that module currently, or they've tried some problems and aren't quite proficient. White, they haven't tried yet. So in my classes recently, we've been working with exponent rules.
Can I have the following people come to the office,
So sorry.
please? Montserrat Hernandez, Ryan Kirk, Robert Sargson, and let's see, Anna Wong, Namisha Patata, please come to the office.
So as I'm looking at my students' data on exponents, I see that I have a few students struggling. So I'm identifying those students right now. They've got red going on here, and so I'm going to click on that, and I'm able to see exactly how many problems they've worked, where they watched a video, if they did. This particular student has worked 34 problems so far in this module, and they're getting a significant portion of them wrong. I see all the red bars. I see at the beginning they asked for some hints, but they have not watched a video. So my strategy with the student this afternoon will be to try and direct them to the proper video first, and then see if I can do some maybe one-on-one intervention or some peer tutoring or things like that. But I think at this point the video would help the student. As I go back to my data, I see another student is struggling with the same module. And let me get back there. Okay. They're struggling with the same module. And as I look at this student and their data, I see that they've worked a whole lot more problems. This student has worked 90 problems. So she has really had a difficult time. She's getting a lot of these wrong. She hasn't it doesn't look like she's watched the video, but she's really been trying, hasn't gotten any hints. I think the video would be a good thing for her. I'm also going in and looking specifically at some of the problems she's been missing. So it looks like we've got negative exponents seem to be a problem. I'm looking for some kind of pattern so I know how to best help this student and how to best direct her. So as I go through here, I can see, okay, it looks like negative exponents are an issue for her. So I think the video would be a good place to start. I also think I'll probably have to do some one-on-one intervention, because my guess is after 90 problems and not getting a streak of 10, she's going to be fairly frustrated. And so it's probably time for me to jump in there and help out a little bit.
Montserrat Hernandez, would you please come to room 10? Montserrat, please come to room 10.
Okay, I'm now moving to the daily activity report for yesterday. I'm interested in seeing which of my students actually spent time last night on Khan Academy, what they spent their time doing.
Caitlin Wheatley to the office, please. Caitlin, would you come to the office, please?
I'm now looking at the daily activity report for yesterday for my students. I'm interested to see who actually spent time after school hours on the Khan Academy, exactly what they spent their time doing, any videos that they were viewing, anything like that. That's the kind of information I'm looking for. They didn't have specific Khan Academy homework last night, so I'm just curious to see if they were working on personal goals or some of the goals to which I directed them. If they had homework, this would be a great way for me to find out exactly who did what and who completed their homework last night.
What do you see? Did people, how many of your classes did last night?
Yes, so I'm seeing a few kids did. Looks like one student.
Zach Blackburn, I need you in the office right now. Zach Blackburn.
One of my students worked on it for about 37 minutes last night, from 7:34 to 8:12 p.m., and he was watching a video on linear equations. One of my students was watching a video on linear equations and then working on ordering numbers, exercises, and limits. Another student looked like she spent some time on exponents too, and she and I worked on this together in class yesterday, so it looked like she went through there and spent a little bit more time on that. I have some other students, it looks like, who spent their study hall time working on this yesterday during class. Since these are low-level students, most of them have a resource support or an English language learner support class or some type of study hall. And so many of them don't go home at night and do this. They do this during their study hall instead, which is acceptable to me since some of my students don't have internet access at home. But for the most part, that's pretty much all that was done last night. And now I'm looking at exercise progress over time. And I have an aggregate here of all of my students. It's a line graph. And so I can kind of see where they are. My goal is to see that students are becoming proficient on different modules and they're continuing to move up the grid. And I can look at specific students or I can look at specific exercises on here to tell who has completed what or where they've been working most recently. And then I'm going to click on, I'm curious about this one student this afternoon who's coming to me. So I want to see where he's at. So I'm looking at his activity recently for the last 7 days. It looks like he's spent quite a bit of time on the Khan Academy, watching some videos, doing some exercises on ordering numbers, writing expressions, exponents 3. He's gotten a few badges, so that's fantastic. He became proficient on an exercise here, so that's fantastic. So it looks like he's making good progress. Let me look at his focus. His focus graph shows me he's spent the bulk of his time this week so far working on ordering numbers, which is appropriate. That's what we've been dealing with in class lately. Looks like he checked out the quadratic equation. He was curious, so I'm okay with that. Didn't spend a whole lot of time there. Spent a little bit of time on addition 1, which probably wasn't necessary, but it's not a huge portion of time, so I'm probably not even going to address that issue with him. Spent some time on exponents 3, achieved proficiency on exponents 2 and writing expressions. That's fantastic. Has spent some time working with multiplying and dividing negative numbers, which we did a rocket run on in class yesterday with that, so that's appropriate as well. So I feel like sometimes this student spends a lot of time on things that are way too easy or way too difficult, and it looks like he's kind of curbing that. He's spending the majority of his time on appropriate modules.
It seems like you have an awful lot of data there. How does that compare to what you've had with other math programs, and what do you think about that?
One of the things I love most about the Khan Academy is the data that I receive in real time. It educates me as to what my students have been doing, where their needs are, and gives me a good idea of what the appropriate intervention strategy would be when those students come to class. So they come to class and there's really not a lot of guesswork on my part. I know who's dealing with what and how I want to best help them or direct them. Prior to Khan Academy, it was just a guessing game. You know, we would go over homework in class, I would work any problems that they missed, and I couldn't get a real feel for exactly what students were struggling with. Here, I can really target my instruction, target my interventions, and not address something with the whole class that only a few students need. So I'm not boring everybody to benefit 2 or 3 kids. I can just pull those 2 or 3 kids aside and help them the best way that I can.
You think when it says that a student is proficient at that, do you take that at face level, or how accurate are you finding the Khan Academy reports?
I find the Khan Academy reports, I find...
Andy Hamlin to the office, please. Andy Hamlin to the office.
I find the Khan Academy reports to be very accurate. One time I was actually working with a student on, I think we were doing order of operations, and I helped her a lot. I felt like I was carrying her through that, and she was getting some things, but other things she was just missing, and she achieved proficiency. And I walked away from that session with her just kicking myself, thinking, oh no, she's now proficient, and I don't feel like she really has a good handle on this. I was just disappointed in myself. And sure enough, in a day or 2, she had lost her proficiency because of the review problems. And I realized that that was okay. It was okay to help her through that and kind of do a lot of modeling with her. And so I went back, did some more intervention with her. She watched some more videos. We did some peer tutoring. And it took her 2 or 3 times, you know, of becoming proficient and losing it to finally get a handle on it. So I feel like the Khan Academy's data is very, very accurate. That student wasn't proficient. I helped her get there, but she lost it through the review process on her own, and she kept getting it and losing it until she was able to maintain it. And so I'm very confident in what the data are telling me at this point. Is there anything else you'd like me to talk about?
Maybe you want to make sure you get a chance to.
Yeah, the students are coming in about 1 minute, so.
You want to get both of these screens that she was doing, or? Can you just go back and show the screens that
Show
you're
the
looking
screens?
at?
Sure.
Remember in the order that you look at them?
In the order, okay, of course. You don't need my voice anymore. There you go. Okay, so I was looking at the screen first, and this is where I was going.
What screen is that?
So this is the progress report screen, and I believe I was looking at exponent rules. So I was looking at this student, and I saw that this student has done 34 problems, asked a few hints here, but hasn't watched a video yet. This other student I was looking at, there she is. And she's attempted those 90 problems. And so I kind of went back and looked at some of the things she's struggling with. Those types of things. And then I looked at the daily activity report for yesterday. And I can see who was doing what. This student spent some time last night working on these things. And then exercise progress over time. Just kind of looking at that. And then I want to look at this particular student that did his activity and where he's been working. And I want to see his focus. So that he remembers, very appropriate. Pow Pow, could you give us a minute? Thank you, sweetie. Looks like he's done a little addition one here, but not for long. Okay, and I think that's all I looked at.
Perfect.
Is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Great.